As the Danube flows through Europe, stretching eastward over the Balkan Peninsula, history flows through its musicians. Euronews took to the river with those taking part in this spring's Danube Music Festival. 10 countries share common bonds through this waterway, from its origins in Germany's Black Forest to the Black Sea Delta on Romanian and Ukrainian shores. Language winds with the currents. Violinist Marin Buna relates a philosophy he feels is proper to the players of string instruments.
To
be a lautara, you must have this in the soul. It cannot be any other way. Where do the lautari come from? I'm in the 5th generation of a family of musicians, and so it's in my soul. I'm not simply a musician in the classical sense. I can play classical music, but more than that, to be a lautara is my identity.
The lautari traditionally play at weddings and other special occasions. They sustain in music what history has little record of in writing. Yiddish culture offers one example. The wartime murder of millions of Jews might have unwound this tapestry forever.
Because there was a big break in the history of Yiddish music through the Holocaust and through assimilation, I didn't have a generation of musicians older than me to really teach me this music in a very deep way. And so I've been looking for 30 years for different ways of getting into this music and understanding it in its deepest meaning. And one of those ways is to do projects with musicians who share melodies or ways of phrasing, the same kinds of scales, the same way of playing, but to understand in the differences who I am and what makes Yiddish music different from this.
Here, and we go from here to here.
Alan Byrne, German-American, has for years brought together musicians of varied influences from several European countries, and notably Moldova, who keep ancient treasures alive.
First of all, we have very little remaining written music of past times. Alan Byrne and I go looking for it in archives, libraries, rare morsels which were retranscribed for performance on stage. We record them and give concerts to pass them on to people. In our country, during the time of communism, these traditions were kept. Now they're starting to be diluted with the influence of Europe and others. In the Soviet era, one could not travel to Serbia, Greece, even Romania. We only listened to Romanian music on the radio. That's how the lautar tradition was preserved in our country. Today, with computers, the internet, television and radio, there is too much information, and this tradition has begun to disappear.
The research also looks at the evolution of the instruments. Of Armenian parents, Syrian-born Heg Yazdian has lived in Greece for 20 years, mastering several instruments. But the Near Eastern oud, cousin of the European lute, is perhaps closest to his heart.
Αυτό είναι ένα όργανο που, όπως το έχω διαβάσει, όπως το έχω μάθει, ότι το είχαν οι αρχαίοι Έλληνες, το είχαν ξεκινήσει οι αρχαίοι Έλληνες.
From what I've read and learned, the ancient Greeks had this already. It appeared in 4000 BC, so it's got a 6,000-year history.
6.000 χρόνια έχει η ζωή αυτό το όργανο. Και παίζεται στην Αραβία.
It's played in the Arabian Peninsula and in Turkey, in Greece, in Armenia. It's the grandfather of all string instruments.
Και είναι, όπως το έχω διαβάσει, είναι ο παππούς.
For example, the guitar and the mandolin come from it. It's the oldest of instruments.
Το πιο παλιό όργανο αυτό το όργανο.
Teodosi Spasov from Bulgaria is a world-renowned player of the kaval.
Observing the works of many European composers, we find Eastern influences, influences of Central Europe and of lands on the verge of Asia. And among these faraway lands, we find Bulgaria. I've asked myself for a long time, are we so far from Europe? When I analyse music, I realise that we're not so peripheral. We have participated in spiritual development and Europe's cultural patrimony.
Conserving identities and traditions is a hallmark of European values. The festival enjoys EU support.
Nous réunissons des musiciens de tous les pays.
We bring together musicians from all the countries along the Danube, with a special focus on the Balkans, because we really have a lot of musicians in this region, in these countries which have always been at war and which are reuniting within Europe. At the same time, this is a chance through music to evoke many traditions and see how people have come into contact with others through music.
Et de voir en fait comment les peuples se sont rencontrés à travers la musique.
There were 68 musicians aboard for this second Danube Music Festival. They returned to dry land again, convinced that sharing musical traditions strengthens Europe's soul.